All right, welcome to your deep dive. I gotta say, this one is, well, it's a little different.
Yeah, bit of a challenge.
Yeah. You guys sent us part 5 of the Recognitions audiobook by William Gaddis, and let's be honest, it's dense.
It is. It's very much his style.
Mm.
Instead of, clear-cut articles or studies, we're dealing with these fragmented scenes, motifs that keep popping up, shifting perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a literary puzzle box. So our mission, if we choose to accept it, is to untangle some of these threads
That's a
and see
go.
how Gaddis uses them to explore these big ideas, art, death, and the search for identity.
Right.
What happens when art becomes a way to escape reality? How do our views on death actually shape our understanding of life?
Yeah, those are some of the core questions Gaddis is wrestling with.
They're big
And
ones.
he doesn't hand you the answers. He makes you work for it, which I think is part of the appeal for a lot of readers.
I think so too. Okay, so we're thrown right into this chaotic party scene,
Right off the bat.
and a man is found dead inside a suit of armor.
It's not your everyday dinner party.
Not at all. What's going on here?
Well, the scene itself is fascinating. I mean, Gaddis creates this atmosphere of controlled chaos.
Okay.
You've got bustling guests, these fragmented conversations about art and history swirling around. It's almost like a microcosm of the novel itself.
I see. Yeah.
Everything's a bit off kilter.
And right in the middle of all of this, we meet Basil Valentine. And he's got this nervous energy about him. There's that strange swelling on his lip.
Right.
And he just seems fixated on this man in the armor. What's his deal?
Well, it's subtle, but Gaddis is definitely hinting at a deeper anxiety in Valentine.
Okay.
Notice how he keeps emphasizing the word separation.
Right. Separation.
And it's not just physical separation. He's talking about a separation from reality, from authenticity. Almost like he's afraid of genuine connection,
Interesting.
which really connects to his views on art.
Yeah.
He seems to be using it to create a kind of distance, a buffer zone.
So art for him is like a shield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, Valentine is a forger.
Right.
He's creating copies, not originals. So there's this whole other layer there about whether he can even connect authentically with his own art.
Oh, wow. That's pretty deep.
It is. It makes you question the whole idea of creation and what it means to be an artist.
And then we have this whole cast of other characters at this party, this wild mix of personalities. You've got the Royal Academy guy going on and on about the devil's calves,
Laughs slightly.
the host who's more worried about, like, the social fallout from the death than the actual death itself. Gaddis doesn't really let any of them off easy.
No, he doesn't. It's satire, for sure, but with a sharp edge.
It is, yeah.
These characters were almost like these little caricatures, right?
Yeah.
But they represent different ways that people avoid actually confronting the reality of death, focusing on the superficial or the absurd.
So they're all kind of in denial in their own way.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, are they even really seeing the dead man in the armor? Or is he just another art object to them?
That's a good point. It's like death itself has become this abstract concept, something they can just distance themselves from.
Exactly. And that theme of avoidance, of running from reality, well, that leads us perfectly into the next section of our deep dives, where we start to encounter journeys, both literal and metaphorical.
Okay, this is where we meet Mr. Yak, right?
Yes.
And he's on this train traveling across Spain with this mysterious, shrouded figure. I have to admit, I was immediately hooked. Like, what is under that shroud?
Gaddis knows how to build suspense, that's for sure.
He does. It could be a child who has died. It could be a valuable piece of art. It could be something even more symbolic. We don't know.
We don't, and that ambiguity is key. It keeps us guessing, keeps us on edge.
And Mr. Yak, he is freaking out. He thinks he's being watched. He's struggling in this foreign country, and he's desperately trying to hide his companion.
He's definitely got some baggage.
Yeah, it's like he's running from something, but we don't know what.
Right, and it goes deeper than just the physical journey, right? He's carrying some kind of burden, a secret maybe. Gaddis keeps dropping these hints about sin, atonement.
Yeah.
This journey is also about seeking a fresh start, maybe even redemption. It's a pilgrimage of sorts.
So that physical journey becomes a metaphor for an internal one. Like he's trying to outrun his past or maybe his own guilt.
Exactly.
Oh,
And that idea of wanting a clean slate, of starting over, that's something we'll see echoed in other characters as we move forward, even if they're not literally on a train hurtling across a foreign landscape.
right. It's a universal human desire.
It is. We've all felt that urge to escape, to reinvent ourselves.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got Basil Valentine hiding behind his art, Mr. Yak on the run with his mysterious companion, and these party guests in total denial. Where does Gaddis take us from here?
Okay, so I feel like we're just scratching the surface here. We've got these characters. We're all struggling with these big ideas, art, death, this need to escape reality. But then Gaddis just throws in all these short, almost vignette-like scenes. What's
Right.
happening there?
Yep.
It's like he's zooming in on these different corners of the world he's created, offering these little glimpses into other lives, other struggles. But even in these fragments, even these brief encounters,
Yeah.
the themes we've been talking about, they keep echoing.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, for example, there's this doctor in the tropics.
Right.
He's treating this patient with this bizarre illness. It sounds pretty serious, but then he gets fixated on naming the disease after the guy.
It's a little strange, isn't it?
It's more than a little creepy, to be honest.
It is, but if you think about the deeper implications,
Okay.
this doctor is in this remote location, almost like a forgotten corner of the world.
Yeah.
Naming the disease after his patient becomes his way of leaving a mark, almost like achieving a kind of immortality. It's a twisted form of recognition, wouldn't you say?
Wow, yeah. It's like he's so desperate for something, anything that will make his life matter,
Right.
even if it's through this, well, this morbid connection.
Exactly. And I think it ties back to what we were talking about earlier with art as a way to escape or maybe to transcend the ordinariness of life.
Thinking.
Even in this seemingly unrelated vignette, Gaddis is circling back to those core ideas.
So even though we're jumping around, we're still dealing with the same underlying anxieties.
Precisely.
Right.
Okay, so then we have Mr. Pivner.
Yeah, he's the guy who's obsessed with Eddie's Nick.
Right, and they're both passionate about music.
Yeah.
But then Mr. Pivner gets arrested for having counterfeit money.
I know. What is with all these fakes and forgeries in this book?
That's a great question. I mean, it really makes you think about the nature of authenticity itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, is anything truly original? Or are we all just copying, forging our identities, even our own experiences?
It's a pretty unsettling thought.
It is. And then, to add to the irony of it all, the blind accordion player.
Oh, yeah, the guy who always seems to be hanging out in front of Mr. Pisner's building.
Exactly. He seems so harmless. He ends up being an undercover agent. Gaddis loves these little twists and turns.
He does. He really keeps you on your toes. But I think it also highlights this idea that appearances can be deceiving.
Absolutely. There's always something else lurking beneath the surface.
Right, something we don't see right away.
It could be hidden motives, secret identities, or even just the realization that things aren't what they seem.
That we can't always trust our perceptions.
Precisely. And then, of course, we have Stanley, who has this brief but very intense connection with Hannah.
Their story is so sad.
It is. They both seem to understand loss on a very deep level.
Yeah.
But then, just as quickly as they form this bond, she's gone.
It just breaks your heart.
It really does. And I think it reinforces this idea that meaningful connection could be so fleeting, so fragile.
Right, like just when you think you've found someone who really gets you, they disappear.
It makes you think about all those brief encounters we have in life, those moments of shared humanity,
Yeah.
and how they can impact us so deeply, even if they don't last.
It's like even though those moments end, they still leave a mark.
They do.
Okay, so we've got this doctor clinging to his legacy through a disease. We've got Mr. Pivner's whole world turned upside down by fake money and undercover agents.
Right.
And we've got Stanley, who's just, well, even more lost after this fleeting connection with Hannah. It's all pretty bleak.
It is. It's definitely not a lighthearted read,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to notice the connections, the subtle echoes between these characters' experiences.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that.
That's the beauty of Gaddis's writing. He's not just presenting these random, isolated moments.
Okay.
He's weaving them together very intentionally, showing how these different lives, these seemingly disparate struggles, are all part of a larger tapestry.
It's like he's saying that even in our isolation, in our individual pain, we're not alone.
Exactly. There are these universal experiences, these shared threads of longing and disillusionment.
And that search for meaning.
Right. And it brings us back to those recurring motifs, the ones that run through all of these excerpts. The prevalence of death, the significance of art, that constant yearning for escape.
The death thing is really striking.
It is. I mean, it's not just the man in the armor, right?
No, it's everywhere.
You've got the child on the train. There are all these references to suicides and accidents. It's like death is this constant presence, this shadow looming over everything.
It's kind of unsettling.
It is.
Mhm.
And I think Gaddis is very deliberately reminding us of our own mortality,
Okay.
of the fragility of life, and how that awareness, how that knowledge shapes our choices, our desires, our very sense of who we are.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that weight as you're reading.
Definitely. And then there's art. It keeps popping up, but in so many different forms.
We've got forgeries, religious icons, the way music can evoke these powerful memories.
It's almost like he's asking us, what is art? Is it a source of truth, an illusion, a way to cope with the harshness of reality?
Right. He's making us question its role, its purpose.
Exactly. And for some characters, art offers a way to escape, to create something beautiful or meaningful in a world that often feels chaotic and meaningless.
I can see that.
For others, it's more confrontational, a way to process difficult emotions, to grapple with uncomfortable truths.
So it could be both a refuge and a challenge.
Exactly. And then there are the mirrors and reflections that we've talked about.
Right? They seem to be everywhere.
Subtly hinting at these characters' search for identity, for self-awareness.
Like they're looking for themselves, but they don't always recognize what they see.
Precisely. It brings us back to that central question of the novel. What does it mean to truly recognize oneself?
So is it about accepting our flaws, accepting our limitations, confronting the darker parts of ourselves?
Maybe. Gaddis doesn't offer easy answers, but he definitely makes us think about those questions in new and often uncomfortable ways.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from the messiness of it all.
And then, of course, there's that yearning for escape.
Yeah, that need for a fresh start.
It's so relatable, isn't it?
It is. Whether it's Mr. Yak literally running away, Basil Valentine hiding behind his art,
Right.
or even the doctor trying to find recognition through this, well, this morbid obsession, they're all trying to escape something.
Absolutely. And I think it speaks to this fundamental aspect of human nature, the desire to transcend our circumstances, our pain, our own limitations.
Yeah, we all want to break free in some way.
We do. But I think Gaddis is also suggesting that true escape might be an illusion. That no matter how hard we try to run, reality always seems to catch up with us eventually.
So where does that leave us? We've got these characters are all searching for something, recognition, connection, meaning, or maybe just a way out. Are they ever going to find it?
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting close to the heart of what Gaddis is trying to do here. You've got all these characters wrestling with these huge questions.
Right.
But he doesn't give us a neat little answer, does he?
He doesn't, and I think that's what makes it so compelling. The Recognitions isn't about easy answers. It's about the struggle itself, you know? The searching, the constant questioning. I think that's where the real meaning lies.
Okay, I like that. So let's think about Mr. Yak and Stanley for a second. I mean, on the surface, they seem to be on totally different journeys. One guy's fleeing across Spain.
Right.
The other one's dealing with loss, grief in his own little world.
Yeah.
But they're both haunted by this sense of emptiness.
Absolutely. It's like Gaddis is showing us that even though our circumstances might be vastly different, right?
Yeah.
There are these shared human experiences, this yearning for something more, this feeling of being lost, unmoored, not belonging.
Right, like you're searching for your place in the world.
Exactly. And that feeling of being lost, well, it really connects to the idea of recognition, doesn't it?
Oh, I see what you mean.
They're both searching for something,
Yeah.
some kind of validation, but they don't know where to find it.
Okay, so how do their approaches differ?
Well, Mr. Yak, he's in this frantic, almost manic state. He's trying to outrun his past, his guilt. Maybe, like, if he can just keep moving, he can stay one step ahead.
But that never really works out, does it?
It doesn't. He thinks he can control the situation, but as his journey goes on, things just keep unraveling.
He's carrying so much weight, literally and figuratively.
He is. And then you have Stanley, who's almost the opposite.
Yeah.
He's internalizing his grief, turning inward, trying to find solace, maybe even escape in his art.
But even that fails him.
It does. He loses Hannah, who is really the one person who seems to understand him, and it just amplifies that sense of isolation, doesn't it?
It's a tough break. Makes you wonder if genuine connection is even possible in the world that Gaddis is creating.
I think that's one of the things he wants us to grapple with. Okay, so let's go back to that big question, the one we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
What does it mean to truly recognize yourself?
To really see yourself.
Right. Is it about finding some kind of peace with all the broken pieces? Accepting that we're never going to have all the answers?
Or maybe it's about something else entirely.
I think that's part of it. But it's also about acknowledging the complexity of human experience. The good and the bad, the light and the dark, you know.
Yeah.
We can't just focus on the parts we like and pretend the rest doesn't exist.
And Gaddis definitely doesn't let us do that.
No, he doesn't. He keeps throwing these uncomfortable truths at us, forcing us to confront the shadows, the darkness within ourselves and in humanity as a whole.
So we're not allowed to look away.
We're not.
Yeah.
And that's where the ambiguity comes in.
Okay.
He doesn't give us these neat explanations or pass any kind of moral judgments. He presents these characters, these situations, and lets us wrestle with the implications.
We have to do the heavy lifting ourselves.
We do. Like take Mr. Yak's shrouded companion, for example.
Right, the mystery passenger.
We never find out for sure who or what is under that shroud. It could be a child, a valuable work of art, a symbol of Mr. Yak's own guilt and desperation,
Or all of the above.
or none of the above.
Right, we don't know.
And I think that deliberate ambiguity forces us to engage with the text in a different way. We have to fill in the gaps ourselves,
Yeah.
draw our own conclusions based on the limited information Gaddis provides. It's like a puzzle, but one with multiple solutions.
It's like he's saying, here's the raw material, now you go make sense of it.
Exactly. And it's challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
The recognitions, it's not passive entertainment, it's an active experience.
You have to work for it.
You do.
Huh.
And the payoff, I think, is a deeper, more meaningful understanding of the work itself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this feeling of, I don't know, unsettling wonder. It's like Gaddis has opened up this door into this vast, complicated world,
Right.
but he hasn't given us a map.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
He wants us to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep searching for our own understanding.
So for everyone listening out there, here's something to think about as you go back to your own lives, your own experiences.
Right.
If, as Gaddis suggests, true recognition is an ongoing process, something that unfolds over time, what does that mean for you? What are you still searching for? What parts of yourself are you still trying to understand?
It's a lifelong journey, this process of becoming.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's the most profound recognition of all, that we're all works in progress, forever evolving, forever seeking.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another exploration of some fascinating source material. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep seeking those moments of recognition.